Hi, good morning, and welcome back to Create, Share, Inspire podcast, episode 310. I am Kristin Omdahl, and I'm so glad to have you here this morning. If you're joining me live, please say hello and let me know what you're crafting on. We're here in Southwest Florida waiting on the sun to rise over the buildings and the trees to the east. And this is the beautiful Gulf of Mexico behind me. And it is so beautiful here this morning. There's a beautiful peachy golden glow at the horizon. The sky's clear and reflecting blue onto the water. It's so pretty. Good morning, Judy. Hi, Ruthie. Thanks for joining live. Hi, Marianne. Hi, Karen. Hi, Dee. Thanks for joining live. We're at a different beach this morning. I have to help a friend this morning, so I had to be at a beach that was better positioned for getting back on the road this morning. Lisa's working on the Shangri-La bag. Awesome. Hi, DJ. Hi, Judy. Thanks for joining live. Look at those emojis, the yarn ball and the mermaid. What a great combination. Hi, Sherry. Thanks for joining live. So glad to be back at the beach with no rain and no fog. Isn't it beautiful? Good morning, Brenda. Thanks for joining live. In fact, I want to show you the horizon to the south especially because it is just glowing gold. Look at how beautiful that is down there. See all that gold at the horizon? Just mesmerizing. So we're more at like a private beach access this morning. So you see it's all the houses here. So not sure if we'll actually see them, but here's the beach to the north of us, also golden, but not as golden as to the south of us. Yeah, the waves sound amazing today, Joe. I agree. Good morning, Charlene. Thanks for joining live. Yeah, it's a very pretty morning. Jane's going to a knitting group today. Fun. Have a great time. Hi, Gail. Thanks for joining. I am working on last bits of my second sample of the new patterns that are coming this week. Good morning, Lisa. Good morning, Beatrice. Thanks for joining live. Karen says it's 55 degrees in Ohio. That's not much cooler than here. It's about 60 here this morning. I could have used more layers, but I think I'll live. It's a little chilly though. As long as the wind doesn't come, I'll survive. Yeah, so I think I'm going to do a different edging on this piece than the original. In the original, I did double crochet through the back loop and did it perpendicular to the edge and joined as I go, which was really fun to do in a worsted weight yarn. I'm not sure I want to do that with the larger hook. And the other thing is, because my gauge is different on here, no, Karen, I have to do something for a friend this morning, so I had to drive to a beach that was better positioned for getting on the road this morning. So I am at a beach I don't usually even come to. So something different today. DJ says it's 30 where she's at. Brr. That sounds chilly. Hopefully you aren't sitting outside today. Yeah, so I think I'm going to work, this is all done into the edge of rows, so I think I'm going to do something entirely different for this one, and something that's a little easier to work into. I don't know about you, but when I'm using a large hook and a thin yarn, sometimes I prefer to work into the holes around the stitches instead of into the stitches. Like, I'll give you a best example I can think of is working into a chain 5 space, or working into a granny square where you're working around the stitches instead of into them. So I want to do some sort of a stitch pattern for the edge of this project that works into the spaces instead of the stitches. I think it'll just be a little more pleasurable that way. Does that make sense? What size hook did I use for the Be So Baby mandala? Probably an E-hook, something like that. You know, everybody's gauge is different, so you'll have to play around and see what works for you. You know, some designers don't even put hooks listed on their patterns because they feel like it's that much of a personal preference. And it's funny because in all the years that I've taught, it is amazing how depending on how someone holds their hook or how much tension they put on the yarn, you could sit next to someone getting the same gauge as you, one person with an H hook like this and another person with an E hook. So it really is about your personal tension and the look you're going for. If you want it to be super tight, you would want to go smaller. If you want it to be loose and drapey, you would go larger. So definitely personal preference, but for an example, I did use an E hook. Good morning, Edna. Thanks for joining live. Hopefully that answers your question. I mean, and so other designers will even say to use whatever hook size was put on the pattern as your starting point. That's to give you a rough idea of where to start, but you're still going to want to experiment with what works best for you. Good morning, Margaret. Thanks for joining live. Great question, by the way, because often people forget that yeah, Melissa knows that right off the bat. So Melissa knows she crochets loose, and I have friends that are just like Melissa that do that too. They know right from the get-go when they look at a pattern, oh, it calls for a certain hook size. I know for a fact I've got to start smaller than that. Good morning, Danette. Thanks for joining live. And I have other friends that are just the opposite. You're welcome, Jane. Yeah, so it's just a suggested size. And it really is going to depend on where your comfort zone is and where your tension is and the look that you're going for. I know it sounds more complicated than it is. It's not as complicated as it sounds, but there are definitely things that you have to experiment with when you're starting to knit and crochet, for sure, or starting a new project. And the more you know, the better prepared you are to have a pleasant experience, don't you think? Yeah, so exactly. Jane normally makes scarves and shawls, so especially if you're doing top-down stuff, it absolutely doesn't matter. So it's something you've never had to think about before, and it's, you know, so you're making the mandala, so ideally you're going to be putting it on a ring. Now, depending on what size ring you buy, that's going to change things too. And you want to make sure that your mandala is slightly smaller than the ring so that you are literally stretching it on there. Otherwise, it would get saggy, right? So it's not a complicated project, but there are things to know to make it more pleasurable. Jo got her ring yesterday and is going to finish her mandala tonight. That's wonderful. And you know, a lot of times it's these types of tips that where would you get them unless you're talking to someone that has more experience? It's just, I don't know, there's things that you get in patterns and there's things you learn in patterns and books, but then there's things that you learn by experience or by having a friend teach you along the way. Yeah, see, there's nothing worse than a saggy anything, right? So saggy mandala reminds me of saggy bottoms in the Great British Baking Show. Yeah, looking forward to seeing everyone's mandalas. I agree. Hi, Annie. Thanks for joining. Oh, Lisa bought the Biso Baby sampler box to make her mandala. That's wonderful. I'm toying with making an Afghan out of my mandalas now. Oh, which reminds me of two things. Okay, so the mandalas would make fantastic motifs for joining Afghans. The only thing you would need is like a little triangle or square to fit into the spaces between them. But the base of the Shangri-La bag could also be an amazing motif for an Afghan for the same reason. So I have a question for all of you. There's probably no way that I can make a full-size Afghan of both of those to teach you these amazing and wonderful techniques for taking square or round motifs and joining them together and making little motifs to make it a solid fabric. So how many would you want me to do to teach it? Do you think we could do it with 4? Do you think we need to do 9, like a grid of 3 by 3? What do you think would make sense for teaching? Because I can do the math to extrapolate how much yarn you would need for a whole Afghan on either of those. Okay, Lisa thinks 4. So let's see, I'm curious to see if everyone thinks 4 is enough or you would want 9 to be able to see the grid. So it would either be 3, 3, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, because we're going to have to show how to do the little ones in the middle. But I would like to show you how to take those circles and then do the little mini motifs in between to make a solid fabric. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of 9s, and I knew the number was 9. I was kind of hoping it was going to be 4. I know it's supposed to be 9. You know when you do that though, you're like, I know it's going to be X amount of work, but is there any way I can get away with half of that work? I know I wouldn't call it total laziness, but it was a wish for something smaller. But no, I understand. Yes, I agree. It should be 9. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so the other question would be at least one of each of those has to be in the multicolors, which will take. Okay, I'll just work on it. I'll just work on it behind the scenes, and as soon as I have it together, I will be able to teach those tutorials, and I think you're going to love it. I really, really do. There are some really cool techniques for making squares and triangles to fill in the gaps between circles, because I wish I had a paper here to write it to show you what I mean. But you know when you're offsetting circles and motifs, so like you either have a solid grid where they're all side by side, or you have an offset, right? And when you do an offset, you need to do a triangle for the little spaces, and when you do them side by side as a grid, you need to do squares in between them. So that's what I'd really like to show, is how you would join them together in both formations. Yeah, in my sleep. I wish I could get stuff done in my sleep. Wouldn't that be amazing? Oh, hi Vera, thanks for joining live. Can't remember if I said hi or not. I know I saw your name. Sometimes it's hard when I'm talking to remember if I said hi to the names scrolling or not. I try. I hope you know that I do try. Yeah, so it's really, really cool to be able to know when to use the triangle and when to use the square. And so when I teach these techniques for those 2 Afghans, you'll be able to apply that to any round motif. Won't that be great? Oh, there's so much we could talk about. And it's funny, if I had all my samples at all times, there'd be unlimited teaching. But you got to make them first to show them. But how pretty is that mandala Afghan going to be? My goodness. So I'm thinking the color for the little mini motifs that go between the big colorful circles will be whatever color you used for the very center of the mandalas. So it'll kind of pop from the center out. Yes, Mar, these are techniques that could be used for anything. So then if you have a book of circle motifs, this will apply to all of it. So once you know how to make a circle motif, you yourself can decide, do I want them side by side or offset? And when you do, you'll know when to use a triangle and when to use a square for making it a solid fabric. Really great tips that could be applied for every Afghan you do after that. I'm so glad you learned from watching the podcast, Mar. That's wonderful. Yes, of course, Annie, you can use the mandala motif for anything else. It's a circle motif. You could use it on your table. You could use it to make motifs and make a fabric out of it. You could do it for all sorts of things. It could be the top of a hat. You could make a beret out of it. You could make a circular bag out of it. You could make, you could make a clutch where you take that circle and fold it in half. It could be the circular base for the bottom of a bag. Excuse me. Excuse me. So like, how the Shangri-La bag has a circular base and then it has walls? You could do that with the mandala bag and make it lacy. I would use Biso baby yarn for the Afghan still, for sure. I really like the way that worked out with all the colors. So since I have my 2 motifs started, I'm going to pick one of those colorways and continue on and finish the Afghan with that, or finish my Afghan sample with that. Thank you. Thanks for all the bless me's. Thank you. I'm a loud sneezer. Sorry about that. You know, however you sneeze is the way you sneeze. I don't think there's any way to modify it. Vera, I'm talking about designing an Afghan with the motifs that I've been doing with Biso baby yarn for the mandalas. I'm thinking about converting that into an Afghan. Yeah, the Shangri-La bag would make a very nice beret or hat. I think it would make a stunning Afghan too. And what I'm thinking with the Shangri-La Afghan, so like the mandala one, I would do in whatever colors we chose to do that one in and continue them in that same design for each motif. But in the Shangri-La one for an Afghan, I was thinking to choose whatever color you did for the outside color would be the same for each circle, and then whatever color you did for the flower, you could change that within all of the motifs. You could either do the whole Afghan one color, or you could do the flower portion in different colors and keep the round outside portion the same color. Hopefully that makes sense. And when I feel like when I get to that point, I might draw some color combinations separate from the photos to explain that. I think when we change colors so many times, like the mandala motif, I think it would get too busy to change those sequences and change the colors too much. I think once you do a little piece busy, you need to keep that consistent. Whereas on a 2-color project like the Shangri-La motif, I think it would be fun to change color within those. But I think to keep it uniform, I would keep the outside color the same. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, baskets and pillows are a great idea for the Shangri-La. Oh, hi, sweetheart. So you want to come say hi? That's okay. Hi, baby. The lady's walking by with a dog, and the dog thought I was talking to him because I'm talking in his direction. Let's show you. Little white dog at the beach. See him? You're not supposed to bring dogs to the beach, and I think that's why we never talk to them and I never show you, because it's definitely not allowed. So anyway, nice surprise to see one. But he thought I was talking to him. It's pretty cute. Yeah, definitely, Sherry, you could put a button in the middle of the Shangri-La motif to tuck the pillow. That reminds me, you could do that on a whole blanket. What if you made a baby blanket out of mini pillow versions of that motif? So you would make 2 motifs and lightly stuff it. Not with a pillow form like the pillow, but what if you just stuffed it with polyfill and made it slightly puffy, and then made a puffy blanket for a baby? So then it would be like, what do you call it, like a playmat blanket? Oh, thank you, Jane. Wouldn't that be fun? And you could even tuft those too. Thank you, Rita. Thanks for the compliment, and thanks for joining us live this morning. Glad to have you. So I think that you could, like, you would do the motifs, you would make 2 like a quilt. Yeah, it'd be very much like a quilt, and you would stuff the 2 like they would be mini pillows, but then you would join them all together, and then it'd be wonderful for a baby. What a baby gift would that be? So awesome. I don't know the beekeeper knit blanket, but I know I have seen people stuff motifs before, definitely. Yeah, I'm not the first person to think of stuffing motifs, but I do love the idea of it. And that motif would be really pretty. It would be amazing, Sherry. I think so too. And it'd be warm as well. Anytime you have insulation between things, and you trap air, it makes it warmer. Yes, DJ, these are the Kelly earring from my latest book, 80 Handmade Gifts. Oh, and I've got I'm going to put out emails every month this year of showing you the upcoming holidays so that you can apply your 80 handmade gifts to gifts throughout the year. So I'm pretty sure because I started it didn't start in December for January. So I'm going to share the January and February one together this week. But then every month I'm going to show you in advance what holidays are coming up for the following month, so you can plan how to give handmade gifts throughout the year. So this is the Kelly earring. This is one of the projects in 80 Handmade Gifts. It takes about 5 minutes to make each earring. And this one's made with Be So Fine bling yarn, which is bamboo with a thread of pure silver applied right through it, and I hand dye all of the colors. Super great project for gifts. Lots of people here have made them. I've made a bunch of gifts with them. So fun. So you can expect to see the first email of the what did I call it? It's not, well, it's going to be a gift guide, but I know everyone's used to seeing a holiday gift guide like in November for December, and I decided I'm going to do it every month to tell you what holidays are coming up. Some of them are silly, and some of them are fun, and some of them are serious, but they're all important because sometimes we just need an excuse to do something special for somebody, and I think it's going to be really fun. So I've already compiled the list, and so now I'm organizing them by month. Oh, Joe made a pair of these in red maple bling which is a colorway of Be So Fine bling for Valentine's Day. That's awesome. Hi Leanne, thanks for joining. That's a great idea. I've got lots of colors in red and pink for Valentine's Day. So we've got pink damask, we have crushed berries and $1 Million red and Parisian Bordeaux in regular Be So Fine yarn, and then in Be So Fine bling we definitely have some pinks and corals, and I do believe there's still some red maple. So lots of great pinks and reds. You could even go with purple for Valentine's Day. Yeah, so that gift guide is going to come out in the next couple of days, and that one will be for January because I'm a little late for January, and include February, and then each month I'll be sending one out with a little bit of overlap so that you have time to plan things. I think it'll be fun. I've had a lot of fun working on it. Oh, great reminder, Ruthie. Yeah, if you're enjoying my podcast, please, please, please give it a thumbs up. YouTube pays attention to that stuff, so let's let them know that you're having a fun time at the podcast. Hopefully you enjoy the sunrise and chatting with everyone here. So if you like it, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Click the bell notification so you always know when there's a new pattern, a new video, or when I'm going live. What does it mean when your name is in blue with a wrench? That's a great question. That means that person is a moderator and helps keep things running smoothly and PG. I guess that's what we should say. They just moderate to make sure there's no spam or inappropriate comments that come up, because that is the world we live in today, and it comes up every now and then, and they are my awesome troopers, warriors that help me out in the morning to make sure that the comments stay clean. Does anybody have any other questions? Yep, and they welcome everybody to the podcast too. That's true. You get a lot of friendly welcomes when you join us. That's for sure. We have a really wonderful group of people that meet here in the morning. So happy to have any new people today. Happy to have new people every day. And if you depending on which way you watch the recorded version, you can see all of these live comments after the fact too, so that you can see who's here and see what everyone chats about. Yeah, everybody says hi, Judy. You're right. It is a beautiful beach. We're so lucky to be here today. The waves are so relaxing. I love the sound today. This is one of the calmest days we've seen in a while, isn't it? Good morning, Kathy. Thanks for joining live. Hi, Sandra. It doesn't look like I did any crocheting this morning, but you know why? I have to actually make the decision of what I'm going to start with. And that's a hard thing to do while you're talking. You need a little bit of quiet time to actually decide on something. Thanks, Yogi Bear. You like my kits? That's wonderful. I've got some new beaded kits coming very soon. New colors coming of crystals, and very excited to share all of that with you. And I have bead kits available now. I have yarn kits available now. All sorts of goodies. Beautiful yarns for sale on my website. A lot of my books are there. Someone asked, do I have a new book coming soon? I do. I have a crochet encyclopedia, which will be my next book coming out, and it's going to be set up as an encyclopedia with a bunch of volumes, but volume 1 should be out in the next couple of months. I am not quite certain that I have the cover shot good yet. That's okay, Tina. You don't always have to have questions. We're just happy to have you here. Thank you, Lisa. I'm glad you like my yarns. So the Crochet Encyclopedia is going to be set up in volumes, and each volume will go over a couple of stitches, but really show you everything you could possibly do with those stitches. And then in the next volume, we'll do all of that, whatever that is, with other stitches. So it will be an amazing collection when it's done. It's going to be an amazing body of work. I'm super, super excited about it. And the first volume is about 85–90% done. There's really just photography and final editing left. So we're really close. We're really close. And the cover, I'm just not sure I'm there on the cover. Jane's hooked on my yarn. Oh, I love that. Yeah, no pun intended. No pun necessary. Will I do more knit books? Yes, definitely, Dee. Definitely. I've got there's going to be a knit and crochet version of this pattern coming out hopefully later this week, if not next week. Got a little bit of a monkey wrench in my schedule this week. Marlon's was in a tournament over the weekend. He's got another tournament starting today. We had a major event in our lives yesterday and a few other things coming up this week. So to stay on schedule this week, so fingers crossed I stay on schedule, but you know I'm going to do everything in my power to stay on schedule. Yeah, Layers book is going to be after the encyclopedia. There was a major hold up on the Layers book. We're at least 6–8 months behind on that one for circumstances that were out of my control, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Thank you, Sandra. Yeah, I'm a single mom and an entrepreneur, Dee. He absolutely keeps me hopping, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I love the challenge of trying to juggle all of my things at the same time. And thank God I have the type of a business that requires so many different components. So you know that when I have to be on the road for stuff like that, that's when I take yarn. And then as soon as I get home, I work on everything else that goes on behind the scenes. Some things are getting easier to do from the phone too. Like I am able to work a little bit in social media from my phone. Phone cameras have gotten so much better. So I am able to do some photos while I'm on the road. And when I say on the road, even down the road, right? Out of my office. Looks like the company that I do my website through has created an app, so I might even be able to start working on my website. Oh yeah, I'm a knuckle cracker, Grace. I've had that terrible habit my entire life. I don't do it all the time, but but pretty regularly. Try not to, but surprised I did it out here because my hands are cold. That's not a good time to crack your knuckles. Oh, here comes the sun. Yay! But what was I saying? Yeah, so encyclopedia should be out very soon. Layers is going to be a while, but when Layers comes out, there's going to be a knit and crochet that I think we're going to separate. Instead of the last two books where I combine knitting and crochet, I think the next one we're going to separate them out. Charlene has good news. Well, why don't you share it, Charlene? We want to hear. Hopefully there's no delay and she can tell us what her good news is. Oh, wonderful. Charlene's going to be a grandmother to a baby boy in May. Congratulations. That is wonderful news. How exciting. So we need to talk about baby projects for you. You're going to have your hands full making baby stuff, and it's so much fun. That's how I started knitting and crochet. I learned how to knit and crochet when I was pregnant with Marlon to make baby stuff, and gosh, I couldn't have picked a better way to learn how to craft. It was such a joy, and that's what brought me to where I am today, and man, can't wait to do more baby stuff again. Yes, you're gonna need baby clothes and blankets and booties and hats. So fun. That's wonderful. Looks like we've got a new person here now. We've got Veronica. Yeah, Tina, I couldn't get to your question. It went by too quick. And we're out of time. So here's my suggestion to Tina and anybody else whose question doesn't get answered. Please feel welcome to repeat your question in the recorded version. And as soon as we finish the broadcast, YouTube converts it into a recording, and then it will sit on my YouTube channel as Create, Share, Inspire Podcast, episode 310. Please feel welcome to leave your question or comment there if I missed it, because I take time throughout the day to reply to everybody there so that everybody's included. So please feel welcome to do that, and I'll get to your question then. But we're out of time. If you enjoyed the podcast, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, subscribe to my channel, click the bell notification so you can always be notified when I'm going live or have a new video coming. Let's take this last minute here to look out at our gorgeous view, soak in the colors and the sounds of the waves, and set our intentions for the day. Thanks so much, everybody, for taking time out of your busy day to spend a few minutes here with me. I hope you enjoyed the sunrise, the sound of the waves, chatting with me and everyone else here. Let us make time to create, share, and inspire